He's my new. Jimmy's my new Luis. Luis will still get it once in a while, because I don't want him to feel, like neglected or left out, yeah,
That's fair.
right? But you actually engage more than he does, despite him being the math major and you being into construction management. You engage more in class than he does, so,
I blame my ADHD.
no, engaging in classes is good. Alright, what are we doing? It's math 35. This is like, I don't know, fucking day 7. Oh, that fucking holiday is gonna throw off my whole counting goddamn scheme. Because I've been doing 2 days a week, that's how I'm tracking everything. I think this is our 5th lecture. I don't know, something like that. And we're still on fucking R4. So we better get done with this early. So we can get like crank it through R5. Okay, so let me just hit you with one to get you started. Factor 60x squared plus 64x minus 28. Take a couple minutes, talk amongst your neighbors if you'd like. Let's refresh these juices. What's the, before you get started, before someone goes down the wrong road, what's the thing we should start with first? What should we always look for first? GCF. Look for a GCF first. If any. And then 2, then factor what remains. Oh.
Working today?
They are. They have not been cleaned out. Sound like you had a little bit of a cold though. It's like a gurgle.
It is that's a little bit less.
Right? Did you check your way through this one, Louise, yet?
Huh?
Are you done with this one already?
Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't.
She's just over here fucking daydreaming, playing with space. Alright, it's fucking 4 o'clock.
I've been here since 10
PM?
a.m.
10 AM isn't a long time.
Hey, for me, it is.
Cause I know you weren't working for the last hour. You were just fucking hanging out.
I was walking around catching fucking.
They still play that. Pokemon Go still, they get it up with a fucking menace for.
It was outdated.
It's outdated, but it was a menace to fucking society for about 2 months. People driving all fucking like breaking on the fucking freeway to capture a goddamn fucking Pokemon. People fucking like criminals hanging around a goddamn Pokemon gym to catch fools that like mug them when they come to get them. What the fuck? It's a menace to society.
I'm awesome. He doesn't like guessing check.
He doesn't like guessing check? Good. Guessing check is a terrible approach.
It is. And you would have liked that. Why? What a lost cause. You should have different. You didn't? Oh.
I did what?
Should have like it.
Oh, we're gonna do it on this one. That way it's always there. It's systematic and it works wonders. Did anyone find the GCF yet? It's 4. Plus, you take out a 4, you should have 15x squared plus 16x minus 7. That might make it a little bit easier for you to factor, maybe. And this is still in the guess and check range, because 7's a goddamn prime number, but. You can guess check in your head. Yeah, fine, giving you a fucking shitty one for guess and check on the test. Alright, so. This comes in the form of like ax squared plus bx plus c. And what we wanna do is we wanna do a times c. We wanna find what multiplies a times c and adds up to b. So what are these values here? A times c, we're ignoring the 4, we've got 15 times -7. -105. Pain in the ass. B is positive 16. Now, we can be smart about it. We want to pick numbers that, two things that multiply. They gotta multiply to a negative, so that tells us that one of them is positive, one of them is a negative. That's the only way to end up with a negative number when you multiply. If they add up to a positive number, it means the positive number is the bigger number. So maybe I'll start off with 105 and -1. That doesn't work. 105 and -1 adds up to 104. -2 doesn't work. -3 goes into it. What's -3 into it? We've got 35. And these add up to 32. We're getting there. This is gonna be approaching 16. That's what we're looking for. -4, it doesn't, all the even numbers don't go into it, so. If -2 or if 2 doesn't go into it, none of the evens go into it. Check -5 goes into it, it's -5 and 21. And those add up to 16, and we found it right away. So. If you had jumped ahead real quick, jumped ahead to 15 and -7. Because we know -6 doesn't work. This would have given us 8. And 8 would have said, we passed 16, go back. So if you go in order, you can find this stuff. You can jump ahead and like backtrack if you need to. So. We have that 4 there, that's still not going away. The 16x. Can be split into these two, the 16 can be split into those two things. It can be split into a plus 21x and a minus 5x. Nah. Work on a problem that's just guess and check foolproof. It'll take him 2 hours to guess and check his way through one goddamn problem. Yeah.
We could put the brackets there too for that instead of parentheses, or.
Yeah,
Oh.
bracket, they're just as a grouping thing right here. So any symbol works. The reason why I did brackets is because I know that now that we're doing grouping here. We're gonna end up with like parentheses inside, and having like layered parentheses is distracting.
So you add those to the first and second.
Yeah. So the brackets are just those right there, the parentheses metamorphic. Looks like these are, this is 3 times 7 and that's 3 times 5. So it looks like a 3x comes out. And that's gonna leave a 5x plus 7. And the 5x plus 7 should repeat, so it should be over there. And the only way to get a 5x from a negative 5x is to take out a negative 1. So we have 4, don't forget the 4. Then we've got the 5x plus 7. And 3x minus 1. Let's go with the shitty one here. And then we'll, after the shitty one, we'll go back to easier. We'll go easier than we've done. Because I like to start, there's an easier set of factoring that most teachers on the planet lead with. They start with the easy way. And I think it's terrible because the easy way has a shortcut. And then people try the shortcut on everything. We're gonna give you some shitty though. Let's go with like, I don't know, x squared plus 6xy. Motherfucker brought in 2 letters. Look at this shit. Plus 8y squared. All right, I am gonna borrow a play from Luis's playbook. Just to illustrate an idea. The only way we're gonna get a y squared there at the end is if we have a y and a y. So let's just remember that. Add the y at the end and maybe strip the y's out for now. Because we can always add the y's in later. And we can always multiply it back out to make sure we're right. So. After stripping out the y, this actually makes it into one of the easier setups. A times c in this case is just c, is 8. And b is 6. 8's got only so many factors. They got to add up to a positive and multiply to a positive, so we know they're both positive. So you've got 1 and 8, and you've got 2 and 4. Those are the only factors of 8. That adds up to 9, that adds up to 6. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to split this 6x into 2x and 4x. Yes, it works on this thing too. I know there's a shortcut. I know.
I'm just wondering the whys.
What?
Just wondering the whys.
We're gonna put them back in later. Watch, you'll see. I tripped him up with the y's. I got him. Now I know how to fuck him over on the test. You are through. You are finished, sir. X plus 2 there. I need another x plus 2 here. And if I have an x here and that's a 4x, it means I factored out a 4. I can verify that real quick, and I probably should, since I cheated, did a shortcut, and just rewrote the x plus 2. 4 times x does give me the 4x, and 4 times 2 does give me the 8. So I got those. Now I've got x plus 2 on both. I factored that out. And I've got the x plus 4 remainder. But we need to remember that we had a y in here. So we're going to slap in those y's at the end there. Put them right here. Let's give her a gander. Multiply that back out, make sure we get what we started with. X times X is X squared, and we're doing a check real quick, multiply it back out. Damn, you got honest today. Fucking making fun of the teacher's fucking speech impediment. Or more like a slip of the tongue.
Oh,
Gold moves. Don't entitle, don't instigate, Drew. I know it's easy. So I did that one, we're gonna do that one, I got X times 4y is 4xy. I've got 2y times X, I could do 2yx, but I'm gonna do 2xy. Because multiplication order doesn't matter. And then I got 2y times 4y is ay squared. And the middle two are the same terms, they're like terms. So I can add them together. And we see what we got, what we start with. Now. An intuitive person will notice. We had 2 and 4 here, and we have 2 and 4 here. When. Let's do this on another page. When A equals 1. You don't have to. Do those 4 terms. Just drop your 2 factors in the parentheses. Now, you can still do it with the 4 terms. Parentheses. That looks fucking funny. Don't make me come over this table with fucking.
I left it your
What? Yeah, don't repeat that shit. About in here is probably good enough.
Yeah,
to
don't
repeat
worry
it.
about it.
Don't fucking repeat it. You can get away with some shit if you're fucking quick enough. Alright, so let's look at one is another one that's like that. X squared plus 5x plus 6. Go ahead and try that one. And then try x squared plus 13x minus 30. Fucking Godzilla coming through this motherfucker. Hey, Kool-Aid! It's probably a little too old for most of you. That's right, oh yeah. I really want a fucking red shirt with the Kool-Aid face on it, I really do, really do. I got the size to pull that off. I wanna walk down the hall and see which people are fucking brave enough to say that shit to Professor Head. Right? Okay, so. First one, what do we do? C equals 6, A equals 1, so we do have the shortcut here. B is 5, there's not a lot of factors here. 1 and 6, 2 and 3. That adds up to 5, so we're gonna do 2 and 3, and we can just jump straight to putting it like this. What the fuck? You freeze. Darian fucking freezes. The fuck you got? Like a bag of drugs or some shit you're popping open?
No.
You're like, look guilty as fuck. Like deer in headlights freeze, like. Alright. Please tell what'd you get, Luis, for the next one.
Like the answer,
Yeah.
x plus 15, x minus 6.
Damn, I was hoping you fucked that up going too quick. This one's easy to fuck up, you know why?
Yeah, 6 and 5 also. Like,
3 and 10. So, you can go on this, so you get comfortable, you can go too fast and start fucking it up. Here, C is negative 30. And B is positive 13. So, one of them is positive, one of them is negative, and the bigger one has got to be positive. Otherwise, it would add to a negative number. And you can go through them. The bigger number is positives, 30 and negative 1 is 29. 15 and negative 2 is 13, and bam, we're done. Since the A equals a 1, we can use the shortcut. We can just plop those into parentheses. X plus 15, x minus 2. Now I'll give you some shit like this. Let's make it hard again. Because I found shit that Louis said like. That's the kind of jackass teacher I am. 81 x squared y squared minus 90 xy. Let's go with plus 25. Now, last time I just said take out the y. I'm going to give a little more justification here. This has an xy right here, which means we either have an x in one spot and a y in another, kind of like that, or we have an xy together. That's the only two ways to get an xy. Kind of like what we had with the other one where it was harder. With this one right here, the 6xy and the y squared, we had to have an xy. So there was two ways, either we had two y's together or we had an xy somewhere. That's the only two ways to get a product that has xy. We got that going on here. This over here tells me x squared y squared, and I don't have anything on this one. Tells me that I need another xy here. And I don't know what plus this, I don't even know what's in front of it. But I know that the y is going to go with the x. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to strip out the y and just add it back in later. Okay. I'm going to call this 81x squared minus 90x plus 25. $25 is only divisible by 5, so there's no greatest common factor here. These are all just shitty numbers. This is with a one time. What I hate fucking doing this. This is the one time where guessing check's a better approach. Because 81, fuck off. 81 times 25 makes some shitty numbers, but just to fucking spite, at least we're gonna do it. What?
81 and 25 is 2025.
So 2025, it adds a negative 90. They both have to be negative. Because they add to something negative, but the multiplication is positive. So we could do negative 2025 and negative 1. And we are a long ways away from negative 90. So I'm gonna just jump to 81.25. Let's try that. Negative 81 and negative 25. That adds up to negative 106. We're getting closer. Pull off a 3 maybe, make this negative 27 and negative 75. That help? That's. I might have gone too far. I did go too far. Look at that. I went too far. I got them in the wrong order. Negative 75 and negative 27. There we go. That's negative. No, I didn't go too far. 90 and 12 is negative 102. Not far enough. I need to do some more. Maybe apply another 3. Nope, that's getting bad. Negative 45. Is negative 45 an option? Because 81's got multiples of 3 and 25's got multiples of 5. 2025 divided by 45 is 45. Yes, negative 45 and negative 45. That adds a negative 90. That's okay. I knew Luis was stuck with the y squared in there. So I still got him.
I got it.
So we got 81x squared minus 45x minus 45x plus 25. Looks like a 9x gets factored out. We're left with 9x minus 5. If I have that again over here, I need another negative 5. This ends up being 9x minus 5 times 9x minus 5. But it should be xy, so I'm going to put the y in. 9xy, 9xy. Those are the same, so I could technically write this as 9xy minus 5 squared. Inspired concept, I guess the check doesn't work on. Feels challenged. Not that it doesn't work on, guess and check will always work. It's just whether you have the amount of time to do it. I'm inspired. I will break you. Are we having fun yet? Isn't this the fucking best shit since sliced cheese?
Sliced cheese.
Sliced cheese. Sliced cheese is newer than sliced bread.
Yeah.
Sliced cheese isn't all that great, really. It's generally processed cheese. You can get sliced cheese that isn't processed, though.
$2 extra, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's extra. All right, so we've done a lot of shit with 3 terms. Does anyone need that longer? This is where we switch to 2 terms. Binomials. So there are 2 outcomes here that work. We can have the difference of squares. If you see 2 things squared and one is subtracted from the other, that breaks down into a minus b and a plus b. You will use this principle a lot in calculus. generally one of these factors is missing and you're gonna multiply by the other, it's called the conjugate. It helps simplify shit up. Sum of squares doesn't factor. Yet. Doesn't factor yet. I mean, it does factor, but you're not ready for it. You can't handle the factoring here. We'll get there. Then the other option we have is difference of cubes and sum of cubes. This is going to be a cubed minus b cubed. And then if we had sum of cubes, it's a cubed plus b cubed. These have identical looking setups. There's only like one swapperoo here. So I'm going to do the setup for both of them. I'm going to put an A and B in parentheses. And then I'm going to do a squared, and then I'm going to do AB plus B squared on both of them. They have the exact same setup. The only difference is the sign right here matches the thing that goes in the front parentheses. And it's the opposite for the second.
So for the addition one, you're just swapping those two out.
Yeah. These two just switch signs, and the way to remember it is the first sign, the small parentheses, the sign matches to what you start with. That's an easy pattern, something to memorize.
The last one doesn't do.
What?
The last one doesn't do.
Right, but the last one is positive for both.
Oh.
Alright. It's fucking with me. Alright, why am I writing? Let's just jump into one. 64 r squared minus 49. There are only two terms here. So the only way this factors is if we can write it as squares or cubes. Now, I know 49 is 7 times 7. So that is 7 squared. So this looks like it's going to be a difference of cubes. Or squares. How do I get 64r squared? What do I got to start with to make it 64r squared after I square it? Well, look at the number separately from the letter. 8r, yeah. So if this is my a squared minus b squared, I need to end up looking like a minus b, a plus b. So it looks like my a is 8r and my b is 7. So this should look like 8r minus 7, 8r plus 7. That table actually technically works here for the squares one. But it's not gonna work well with the cubes.
GCF.
The little table, yeah, the table I made where we push it out, it actually works here, B is just 0. It doesn't work on the cubes thing though. I don't know how the fuck they figured out how to factor that.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no guess and check on the cubes. He can guess and check his way through the difference of squares. But the cube is gonna fucking get him. So it sounds like we need a lot of cubic problems on the test. You all think, Louise? Alright, let me give you guys one that I don't yammer about. And let's try it first. Let's go with 25 x squared minus 16 y squared.
Oh, I didn't finish.
What?
I didn't finish the last part. Sorry. You can show. I'm done. Thank you.
You guys take it well. I got a young lady in my calculus class and she's in my computer science 2 class. She's like one of the only students that's ever taken me for 2 classes in the same semester. I've had repeat students like take me for several classes in a row. They liked my teaching and they kept coming back. Even going so far as like they went through all of like calculus and physics and said, fuck it. We got one more class, we get general elective, we're gonna take stats with them. They don't need it. They just want to take another class. She's taken 2 classes with me. So I say her name a lot and it embarrasses, she's very quiet. Embarrasses the shit out of her. It's fucking great. Oh, she was on Zoom the other day and I said something about talking about some meathead person. And she said that the name sounded like a Jim Bro name. I said, what the hell is a Jim Bro name? And I like, so I said her name, like, she said Jim Bro name. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, because it sounded like meathead to me, but I didn't know. And she immediately fucking typed in, stop exposing me, I'm gonna die. Fucking great. Then, after that, anytime she said something, she's typing out, she's not doing like a private message on Zoom, you can't. On Zoom, you can do a private message where no one else on Zoom can read it. There was like fucking 8 people on Zoom, everyone else saw it.
Do you need a purchase another Zoom to have unlimited time list?
No, I know, heck yeah, I do whatever I want.
Well, I'm asking in general.
I have no idea in general, like fucking school does everything. If I had my own account, I don't know.
Cause I tried to post the quality of data specs of Android, so I put a paste on it for a school like assignment, and they kept logging off every time up to like a few minutes.
Are you sure it wasn't them?
No, it was the Zoom.
2 minutes is not very long,
No,
I don't know, like,
it's like 10, I think, 10, 15.
it's usually like 40 or 45. You could use Discord, Discord has a video option.
So Zoom go better.
I haven't used Discord video, so I don't know. But students have mentioned it. I don't know that Discord is owned by Microsoft.
No, I'm talking about Microsoft Teams. I think we should-
Oh, Microsoft Teams is another option. But I don't know if you agree with that either. Discord's fucking free as far as I know. Alright. What's the two squares here?
5x minus 4y.
That's right. So what do I end up with?
5x minus 4y times 5x plus 4.
That's correct. You can also put the plus first. I get in a habit of always using the minus first because there's a minus in the starting thing. So I just naturally migrate to using the same one first. But for this one, it doesn't matter. Cubes, it does matter. Homework is gonna do some shit like this to you. So I'm gonna do some shit like this to you. 2c minus 3d squared minus, let's go with 9f squared. Now, you may be inclined to try to multiply out the 2c minus 3d. But this is something squared. So what should I write this as? Can I write this as something squared? 3f, right? So that's my A. It's ugly, but it works. I'm gonna have, and then when it's ugly like that, I like to write out the generic form, A minus B, A plus B. And then that way I can make sure I'm filling in the right shit. A is 2c minus 3d. That's gonna go in the front of both. And then I'm gonna have a minus and a plus 3f. So while that doesn't look like an A minus B and an A plus B, it is. More shit to pull on you. Why have just squares when we do some shit like this? 169 u to the fourth minus 144 w to the sixth. There are only two terms, so we only have two options. Write it as something cubed or something squared. I could write this one as either. This one can only have a u squared squared.
Okay.
And he's like, fuck all that. I don't believe he does. That's a leap, right? So one way of looking at it is we have u to the fourth and w to the sixth. Try dividing them both by 2 or by 3. So 4 divided by 2 and 6 divided by 2 both work. 4 divided by 3 does not work, but 6 divided by 3 does. If they both divided by 3, we could have done cubes as well. In fact, we'll do one that works for all of them. So I'm doing something squared. What multiplies by itself to get 169? 13, 1.
Somehow.
I think we need to work over 1 powers with you. What's 144? How do you get that? 12. No violence in here. Looked like you went. It still look like it. Is he threatening you, Darian?
I think, it's not really paying attention.
So that's my A and that's my B. So A minus B and A plus B. I got 13 U squared goes in the front of both. And 12W cubed goes at the end of both. I'm showing, these are the exponents.
Yeah.
And testing to see if I can do squares or cubes. If you can divide by 2, squares works. If you can divide by cubes, cubes would work. So
okay.
cubes doesn't work. Maybe I'll do little arrows pointing down. Playing with the exponents. All right. X squared plus 10x plus 25 minus y squared. All right, so this is a fucking, this might make you want to do x's and y's. But I don't, there are no xy terms. Which means I will not have anything multiplied by an x or a y that doesn't cancel itself out like squares does. So, can I write this as something squared minus something squared? This one's obvious. Can I write that as something squared? The way you check is go, does this have a square root and does that have a square root? Give it a test. If I do there, it's a positive, so maybe this tells me to do a positive. If I do that, will I get the 10x? If the 10 is 2 times the square root of this number right there, it works. That's the way I wrote it. It looks terrible. I'm gonna move it. If the really, I've got that right there. If the B equals 2 times the square root of C. So 2 times the square root of 25. 2 times 5 is 10. Then this thing is gonna work. I don't think that's the way I would do it. In fact, I had to stop and think about how I'd write this. Just try it. If you recognize 2 perfect squares here. Hopefully you know that the squares up to like 100. Because of the diagonal on the multiplication table. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. You won't generally see much higher than that, hopefully on the homework, unless you're just being total assholes. But this does factor to x plus 5 squared minus y squared. So I could do, this is like a minus b. So I'm gonna put x plus 5 in the front of both of them. And then I'll do my minus and my plus. And then we got the b term, the y.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is this isn't a binomial?
It's a twist on a binomial.
Okay.
It's if we do substitution, it's a binomial. In general, I would not call it a binomial though.
So it is not a polynomial.
Binomial only has two terms.
So, are you following the a squared plus bx plus c and not any of the binomial rules?
Ignore that. I'm gonna cross that out. I see where the misleading is. Ignore that. I was trying to point out how you can identify if this is gonna be a perfect square, and I don't think that's like helpful. I really don't think it was helpful. I think you're better off, right, like going, is this a perfect square? Is this a perfect square? Filling them in and then going, multiply them together and double it. So x plus 5, if I multiply the 5 and the x, I get a 5x, I get a 5x, I add them together, I get the 10x. Which is what would happen if you multiply out x plus 5 times x plus 5. You would get a 5x and a 5x. That's what that is, you, I guess.
It basically is.
Effectively. You could have done this without guessing check though. You could have done it like that table. But when you're looking for a square term, it definitely speeds it up. There's no way to get, I don't need to try 1 and 25. The only option for a possible square thing here is a 5. The only possible thing for an x or a square here is an x. You just got to multiply them out at the end to see if, make sure that they get you the thing on the top. All right, we'll do cubes next. Let's take like a 5-minute break. You learn something you don't want to know every single day, right? All right, let's hit you with this. T cubed plus 1,000. Straight to it. Told you we're doing cubes. All right, so. This guy can clearly write as a cube. That's T cubed. Can I write that as something cubed? It's 10, right? So as a reminder, we have a cubed plus or minus b cubed equals a plus or minus b. Then you have a squared, and then the minus on this one, it switches signs and does that. So the plus goes with the we're right here. We're doing the plus and we're doing the minus there. And we got t and 10. So I should have a t plus 10. And then I should have a t squared plus t times 10. Not plus, minus. Oh, it's a minus on this one. It's the first sign matches and the second sign doesn't. So we're doing the plus is right there and the minus goes right here. This is a times b. And then we've got plus b squared is plus 10 squared. So this is t plus 10. T squared is obvious, that's just t squared. T times 10 is good, that's just minus 10t. And then plus 10 squared is 100. So there's a pattern you gotta follow, which means you're probably better off memorizing pattern. Because that's just like non-intuitive. You're not gonna factor this. No guessing and checking on this motherfucker. But, well, there's no guessing. There's checking. We can check our work. Can we check our, how do we check our work?
Well, that's good.
Multiply that shit all out, and you should get t cubed plus 1,000. Most of the stuff on your exams in this class will be something that you, if you've got time, we can check. All right, let's do another one. I don't think you've had enough fun yet. How about we go with R cubed minus 8s squared. Or cubed, sorry, 8s cubed. Can I write this as something cubed minus something cubed? That's what we started with,
Be 2s cubed.
2s,
Right.
yeah.
That's right.
So that's my A and that's my B. And so we've got A cubed minus B cubed. It's worth writing out the generic formula and then plugging the shit in. So. Yeah, I'll use brackets here. A is R. R goes here, R squared goes there, and then R goes here. And B is 2s, so B goes there, B goes there, and B goes there, and it's squared there. The fuck was that? So we get R minus 2s, R squared plus 2rs plus 4s squared. All right. Yes,
Is the forest still supposed to be squared?
when we squared the 2, we got the 4, so we don't want the 4, it's squared again. Otherwise, we'd end up with a 16. I'm not. What do you mean, like,
It's still supposed to be the 6 power.
the S is, yes, the
Okay.
4 has already been dealt with. 4 is not getting squared right here. The only time something gets squared is when it's in parentheses, and it'll apply to everything. Because that is. We say 4s, but it's really 4 times s. Like that. So the square is only on the s. We just don't write the multiplication, and it kind of throws students off for a while. Eventually, you'll get the hang of it. (27x cubed plus 64). I already edited some of the homework days. I need to edit more. Cause we are still on fucking R4. And I still got another topic to teach. Factoring comes up a lot in everything after this. Whether you're factoring or using the idea of how like factoring works. Is this something squared times something, or cubed times something cubed?
6.
3x for the first one, right? $64? It's a 4. Such a dork. So it looks like we're doing the positive format up here, that we're doing a plus b, a squared minus ab plus b squared. That's my a and that's my b. And then we got minus and plus that. And start filling in my a's and my b's. My a goes here, it's a 3x. It goes here, it's a 3x, but it gets squared. And it goes here. My b is a 4, it goes there. It goes there. And it goes there and it gets squared there. That looks like a minus sign, but that should be an equal sign. So I'm just plugging stuff in and then I'll do the evaluating. Three x times 3x is 9x squared. 4 times 3x is 12x. And plus 4 squared is plus 16. Is ready for one more clusterfuck? Anybody need this up longer? Say so now.
Give me 5 seconds. Right?
Okay.
I'm done. Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you right now, 216 is 6 cubed. And 125 is 5 cubed. I'll help you do that a little bit quicker. Try to write out the next part. Motherfucker, we were gonna do R6 today. Here, bro. Oh well, there's shit at the end, like all of chapter 11 doesn't really need to be done. I just gotta adjust homework days again. Again. So we have an a cubed minus b cubed. We want a minus b, and we want a squared plus ab plus b squared. That's my a, that's my b. I'm gonna set this up. And drop in my a and b. A is 6x, goes there, and goes there. B is 5y, it goes there, there, and there. Means you're gonna end up with 6x minus 5y times 6x squared is 36x squared. 6x times 5y is 30xy. And 5y squared is 25y squared. Yeah,
Isn't it minus 25 plus 2?
no. The minus only applies to the first parentheses. The b squared is always positive. So, good question. You'll see if we multiply these two together right here. We're gonna get that negative 125y cubed. And if this was negative, the two negatives would cancel out and make a positive. We'd have the wrong side. But that was only a partial check. If you always like, I'm not confident, multiply back out. And then you'll know. All right, so last topic of fucking R4 is factoring with using substitution. We're fucking stuttering over this shit. Factoring using substitution. Jimmy was smart, kept his damn trap shut this time. Eight times 3x plus 1 squared plus 10 times 3x plus 1 minus 25. I could have used the substitution on some of the stuff earlier. This kind of looks like something 8 something squared plus 10 something minus 25. This looks like a trinomial.
Sorry, I do want to ask something.
Okay, what's that?
We're still on R4.
Yeah.
Okay, because you like a little bit. I don't know if I lose the.
What?
Because you lag, like it was like your screen freeze, and I don't know if I lose that.
Yeah, we're still on R4. I
Okay.
lagged, got it. Yeah, we're behind. Blame Jimmy. Just because I can. He didn't do shit, but he's there and he's fucking. How's it feel about me? Everything's your goddamn fault, Jimmy.
That's fine.
So. Jimmy don't give a shit. It's like, fuck you, Jones. I don't care what you say. So this is what we do. We do something, we make a substitution. I'm gonna replace 3x plus 1 with a u. U is the letter we like to use for substitution. I have no idea why. Maybe because S is usually used for seconds, like in time, and U is the second letter. Who fucking knows? It's a thing. If I do, that looks like 8u squared plus 10u minus 25. If you use y, that's fine. As long as you make a note of what you're substituting. I have used smiley face before. On a test, as a student. My teacher fucking laughed at me, but gave me full fucking credit. Like literally called me up and pointed at it and laughed in my face. I said, just grade it, motherfucker. Keep your peanut gallery shit for somebody else. Gives a fuck. All right, so we need to do, this is a trinomial thing, so we need to do A times C and B. A times C is -200, and they need to add to 10. A little smart work ahead of time can help narrow us down. If it multiplies to a negative number, we know one is negative and one is positive. Right? If one's positive and one's negative, but the outcome when we add them up is positive, it tells me that the bigger one is positive. So I'm just gonna start skimming numbers. 200 and -1 is 199. We're way the fuck off. When I see a 0 at the end, I like to try a 10. Let's try a 10. And 10 conveniently worked. I got lucky here. So I have 8u squared. The 10u breaks up into 20u minus 10u. We can't just drop that shit in parentheses anymore because a does not equal 1. And we'll go by grouping.
Hi, baby.
What?
See what I do.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
A little confused, Pedro. Like I didn't know it was that kind of party. All right, so we go by grouping. 8 and 20 both have 4s in them. And they both have a U. And if I want a -10u and I start with a 2u, I need a -5. So this should be 4u minus 5 and 2u plus 5. But we did not start with u. So we're not going to end with u. We're going to plug in 3x plus 1 for u. Make sure you use parentheses because that 4 is going to multiply through. Plus 3. When you're done, this will be a 12x. And I got 4 times 1 is 4, minus 5 is -1. 2 times 3x is 6x. And then I got 2 times 1 is 2 plus 5 is 7. That's what it gets down to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How did you know to put like the 3x plus 1 next to, oh, never mind. Literally, never mind. You put it in for you, I see.
Yeah. If it helps you, or if it helps with your work, I should say. Put a big box around that motherfucker so you don't lose it. Now, there is another way of doing this. You could multiply all this shit out. Make it all into one polynomial and then factor that one. And it would factor this. I mean, it is doable. But doing the substitution thing really speeds things up. And you're going to do a lot of substitutions in calculus when you get there. And even some in trigonometry, pre-calculus B. You guys ready for another?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
How would you know, like, would it be obvious if you fuck up if you take out like a 2 instead of a 4? You know what I mean? Like for
Where?
like for you.
Right here?
Yeah. Like what if you took out 2? Like would you like
We would have had a 4u and a 10 here.
Mhm.
And we wouldn't have been able to get a 4u and a 10 over here.
Oh, okay.
That was so cool.
Put the bone in it.
Should,
Any other
Because
questions? Oh, go ahead, Elspeth.
that was fun.
Like what she said is that I think that's because it is the greatest common factor as well, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It is the greatest common factor. It's the
Yeah, to
GCF.
make it work on both.
But if you don't recognize it right away, it should like be a little bit obvious later on. All right. Onward. Let's do QX minus 1 cubed minus 27. Now here this is one you do not want to multiply out. Because cubes suck. But I see a cube. That makes me go, could I write this as a cubed minus b cubed? Or u cubed. I'm gonna put a u there. Yeah, if I let u equal 2x minus 1, this becomes u cubed minus 27. So that's a 3 cubed, right? So we have minus there. I have something squared here, plus 2 parentheses, and then plus something squared there. I'll start putting in my u's. U goes here, U goes here, and U goes there, and then 3 goes here, 3 goes here, 3 goes here.
So, sorry, that's a u to the cube or that's an a?
It's a U,
It's a u.
yeah. The original equation is a cubed minus b cubed, that this is the generic form. But we can use a U instead of an A, since we're making a substitution here.
Okay.
I'm gonna have U minus 3 here. And U squared is just U squared. 3U times 3 is 3U, and then 3 squared is 9. And now this is where we put shit back in. And I got minus 3 here. And I got plus 3 there and plus 9 there. And I got a square there. But I'm putting in 2x minus 1 for my U. So this will combine to 2x minus 4. This is 2x minus 1 squared is 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. So that's that. Then I have plus 3 times 2x is plus 6x. Plus 3 minus times negative 1 is minus 3. And plus 9. 4x squared minus 2x would be minus 4x. And there I did 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1. So I've got 2x minus 4 here. I've only got one squared thing here, the 4x squared. I have minus 4x and plus 6x is plus 2x. And then I've got a 1, a 9 is 10, and a minus 3 is a 7. You can always, when you have a substitute, normally the a cubed minus b cubed. This thing doesn't factor more, but with the substitution, it might factor more. We'll let Luis go ahead and guess his check his way through this real quick. To see that there's, this one doesn't factor. But the first one does. That was fucking sneaky, wasn't it? That's right. That's minus a point on the test.
Is that?
I can't wait to give Luis sub 100. I know he's gonna make one fucking mistake at least. At least it's gonna be so satisfying.
Plus 7?
Plus 7. Ah, fucking minus 1 on Jones. God damn it.
Too focused on challenging.
No, that challenge didn't come until after I was done. I just made a mistake. This happens all the time on fucking tests. I'll fly through the fucking answer key. And then I quickly, it only takes like one test to figure out which students in here score the highest. And I just grade theirs first. Just to make sure, like, if I made a mistake, they'll have caught it. I'll have a different answer than them, and then I gotta look through them, but the first test is a free-for-all. Luis says he's a math major, but we don't know that he's gonna be the top student in here. I think there's a lot of contenders in here for top student. Like, all of you could be the top student. He might be my worst student. We'll find out. When you think you're great at something, you kind of like slack off at it. So he might go into that first test going, this is fucking easy. I'm not gonna study for it. And then he's gonna pay the price for his lack of vision. That's a Darth Vader quote for you right there. Oh, another fail. That's a Lord Vader quote for you. God damn it, fail upon fail. All right, we're gonna do one more thing, and then I'm just gonna say fuck it, and we're gonna do R5 on next week. But go at this one. Have a fucking good time at it. Calculus 3, last time I taught calculus 3, one of the problems on like the third or fourth test was unsolvable. And I didn't make the answer key until I handed out the fucking test, and I was taking the test with them. Normally I do the answer key ahead of time, didn't. That's always good. That's where, as a teacher, you just gotta go, get to the same point of it being unsolvable, and then you get full credit. Because you did everything in the right steps up to then, and you said, nope, I can't do anything else. What should you be here? I want to make a substitution. What would make this look like a formula with something squared?
Square minus 2. Or minus 6.
What? I like the m squared. Just try the m squared. Try doing that. What does m to the 4th equal? What happens if I square you? I square M squared. That's M to the fourth. So you're gonna have 15u squared minus u minus 6. I'm a big fan of get the hard shit out of the way on the homework and make the test like more reasonable. So just keep that in mind.
When do we have the first test?
You know, I'd love to answer that question, but since we're behind fucking like 3 days or some shit like that, I'm gonna hold off on answering that question.
Okay.
It's past October 11th.
I have a question.
Yeah,
So you know how for like the binomials and the trinomials, we have like a if it looks like this, then we do this. Is there a rule for the substitution one?
this looks like a trinomial, but it doesn't have the right exponents.
Okay, so then you would substitute.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be hard to recognize, Hannah. Like this one, it's a little hard to recognize. This is something squared plus something to the first power minus 25. It comes with practice.
What was the correct exponents for like trinomials? Is it just squared?
Trinomial, what do you mean correct exponent? Like
Because you
here?
said that you said this looks like a trinomial, but
Yes, trinomial will end up looking something like ax squared plus bx plus oops. So you'll have something squared, something to the first power.
so if it's above x squared, then it's not a trinomial.
When you get it down to it, yes, correct. A good thing to look for is go. If I've got 3 terms, can I, and one of them is like. The exponent is half of another one,
Mhm.
make that your u. Whichever one is the one that's the half one. Because the squared one, like I could have had m to the third here and m to the sixth. 6 is still double 3. So I could have done u equals m cubed here. That's kind of how you. And then you look to see if the other one's got like twice the exponent. I'm gonna cross off the m to the 6 and the m cubed. Because someone was not listening to that and was gonna look up and go, where the fuck did cube come from?
I don't know if I said my question correctly, but basically I'm saying what are the like defining factors of a trinomial? Like, can it only be ax squared plus bx plus c?
What we have tools for factoring for, yes.
Okay.
It doesn't even need to be an X. It can be a fucking smiley face.
Mhm.
Just some unknown value here, that same unknown squared. And there's 3 terms. That's why it's called tri.
But it
One-
can only be squared, correct?
Right.
Okay. Thank
If it's
you.
not squared, we can try a substitution to get it down to a square.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, what does this factor into? 15 times the -6 is -90. And use the add up to -1. 90 is divisible by 10. I got a 10 and I got a 9. If I make the 10 the -1, I get -1. That's guessing and checking. I didn't follow the pattern. So 15u squared minus 10u plus 9u minus 6. How could they keep beeping at me for no reason? We'll break that down. That looks like a 5u comes out. And I get a 3u minus 2. I should have another 3u minus 2 over here. And it looks like it's got to be multiplied by plus 3 to get it. So I have 5u plus 3, and then 3u minus 2. That's not where we started, though. We didn't start with u, so we don't end with u. Square. Ta-da! That's it. Unless you're sick, fuck. I could treat this as a difference of squares. This is the starting point. So the rest is just to torment Louise. But if I really wanted to bake your noodle, I see a square here. There's only 2 terms. I could do square root of 3 times m, make that squared, and then minus square root of 2 and square that. And then we got the difference of squares. But no one does this. No one does this. Not even sickos like your teacher. Fuck out. What are y'all waiting for? All right, so we're 2 days behind. The test is probably going to be the 23rd of October.
That's gonna be the midterm, or that's gonna be the
Midterm,
midterm?
I think. I gotta redo the schedule.
Okay, you're gonna make a review, right?
What?
We're gonna have a review for the test.
Yeah, I gotta review schedule day.
You're not gonna make any tricky questions.
I don't like to think that I'm all that tricky,
Bro.
but I might. I'm not making any promises.
Like random.
I'll see you guys next week.
See you, sir. Have a good day.
You too. All right. Wow. The fuck? I fucking heard that.